on the first night.
Which they did on the first day, but
yeah.
in this case
Many
it
people
was
said
botched
hats off
up
to him and all of that, right?
So if it is botched up like what we saw in Pathankot, then who takes the flak for it?
Well, Zaka, I think it depends on how you see it. I think the way Ajay has seen it is the way most people would see it. What you really have is a platoon of commandos, with 6 commandos or so, sent in to attack a military base. You have military resources nearby. You should use them to secure the base, patrol the base, make sure nothing happens, and thwart their plans. We get colored by this use of the word terrorism and NSG. These were not terrorists in the sense they didn't come to kill civilians. They came with a specific military objective, and the military is more than capable of having handled it. Civilian authority gets involved. Start sending people like the NSG, who, as you've correctly pointed out, are not trained to do this, and therefore not only belittles the role of the army and the armed forces, also creates enormous confusion about the chain of command. Something very similar happened in Bombay. In the case of Bombay in 2611, we had advance information, some of it from the CIA, which clearly came from Headley, some of it from RNAW intercepts, which actually had people on the Dow speaking to their Pakistani handlers and saying we are reaching Bombay. RNAW sent those intercepts to the then National Security Officer's office, National Security Advisor's office. They stayed there. They did nothing. For the first night, nobody was sure who was in charge. The Bombay police refused to go in. The NSG had a problem with the plane. Instead, naval commandos were sent in who left without engaging the terrorists, and then shockingly held a press conference while the operation was still in progress. So I thought then that we have learned those mistakes, but this shows us we've learned nothing, and Ajay is right. What's important is, yes, of course, to fix accountability, but also to learn what went wrong so that every single time this happens, we don't make the same mistakes.
So why does that keep happening, Ajay Shukla? I mean, I understand one of it is the sheer number of agencies that you have to deal with. The border issue has to be answered by the BSF. The Punjab police questions, of course, are very obvious, and a lot of us folks have been asking it for the last few days. There are questions that need to be asked about this decision, this tactical decision to send the NSG. I understand that one part of it is the number of agencies involved, but like Singhvi was saying, I mean, you saw the same thing play itself out in 2611. We thought that all of those confusions, as it were, should have been removed in the aftermath of that attack, but we seem to be still stuck in square one.
Zaka, the problem is you have these many agencies, all of whom are battling for turf. But that's not a problem in itself. In every country, you have different agencies, police, special counter-terrorist forces, the military, all of them battle for turf and for influence, every country. But in other countries, you have a centralized decision-making authority that understands something about military operations and that adjudicates and arrives at decisions over this turf, and that clearly allocates responsibility, that makes, I mean, how difficult is it for India to set up a national crisis center with clear responsibilities for an incident like this, along with subsidiary information regional crisis centers, so that if a crisis takes place in, let's say, Punjab, you have the pre-designated people who come together at that stage, who take reactions. There is a commander designated. Everybody knows what is expected of them. It is rehearsed. But we have no such system in India. We've just not felt the need to institutionalize it. Every time we have a crisis, we have these outraged decisions on TV, but we don't actually result in a coherent plan or action or a system set up at the end.
I think you've touched upon a great point. I don't know if it's a comparable example, Veer Singhvi, because when it comes to natural disasters, I think we've seemed to have cracked the formula. We have a National Disaster Response Force. There's a clear chain of command when it comes to who are the authorities who should be responding to natural calamity. Why can't we have a similar system, like Ajay Shukla was pointing out, a national crisis management center when it comes to terror attacks?
It beats me. I mean, in this case, we appear to have a situation where the PMO was calling shots. If the PMO was calling shots, then surely it was in a position to decide who did what among the many agencies who, as Ajay says, will always jostle for space. Perhaps they did decide, and perhaps they just decided to give it to the wrong agencies. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that the confusion continues. I remember on the first night of 2611, when the Taj went up in flames, Ratan Tata, Krishna Kumar, the executives of the Taj, approached the Bombay Fire Brigade, and they said there are people in those rooms, they're on flames, they're in flames, these people are going to die, can you put out the fire? And the guy said, sorry sir, I have no authority. And they said, who do we ask? And he said, I don't know. That, unfortunately, the situation we are in time and time again.
And it's sick. I mean, I can't think of another word. It's sick that we have to see the same story play itself out time and time again. I want to come to the second part, and I think it's a fair question to ask, Dr. Subramanian Swamy. Why is it that for a government which sort of prides itself on being nationalist, why didn't we see a single representative from the central cabinet or from the central government in Palakkad, where Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan was laid to rest? We didn't even see any noteworthy state leader there when the Lieutenant Colonel's last rites were performed. I mean, is that a reasonable question to ask?
Well, it's certainly a reasonable question to ask. The question is that you ask both questions both ways. If we turn up, you say, oh, they've come there to do politicking. And there's all this hoo-ha that is being made by the Congress party there in Kerala is basically aimed at the forthcoming elections. The issue is, did the Kerala government even bother to ask the centre to send its representatives? That they would have done that. If we had disregarded that, yes, then there would have been a major question to answer.
Okay,
I think these are issues which we can say both ways.
Can I ask the same thing in a different way? Narendra Modi turned up at the house of the 2611 martyrs just a few days after the operations concluded, when he was Gujarat Chief Minister, and when he said that he has no locus standi,
That's
really.
Right.
But here you have, under his leadership, when he's Prime Minister, many are saying the worst attack since 2611, and no representative from the BJP turns up. I mean...
No, he turned up at the scene of the crime. He didn't turn up at everybody's funeral.
No. He visited martyrs' homes after the operations concluded.
Yeah, afterwards. Yes, and I'm sure he will do that now.
But it's not a fair question to ask why no one from the BJP turned up.
I think we have become unduly sensitive to your criticism when we turn up in these things, and you would say that we are politically trying to exploit it. So I think this is a time we waited for the Kerala government to invite us. They did not invite us, so it didn't go.
Okay, I'm not sure if there's a protocol issue where a state government has to invite.
It's not a protocol issue.
I don't know why that should be a prerequisite. But Abhishek Manu Singhvi?
More important thing is to the more important thing is to look after the family.
Abhishek Manu
not
Singhvi?
Turn up with the cremations.
Yeah, sorry, what's the question?
No, the last rites of Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan were performed today in Palakkad, in his native, and everyone there, from the Chief Minister to the Home Minister to the Member of Parliament of Palakkad, who by the way are from different political parties, they're not from one political party, all turned up, except anybody noteworthy from the BJP.
Well, I think a lot of these gestures necessarily are symbolic, but symbolism is very important when you want to show the nation's entire focus and energy behind you. I think there was a mistake that there was a delay. Remember, people from the Congress did go in the 2611, but they delayed it, and Mr. Modi landed up first. I think that mistake should have been rectified this time, and I think since it's an operation which was handled exclusively by the PMO and the central authorities, all the more reason why the central government senior representative, not merely anybody, should have gone. I think it's really only a manifestation of your solidarity when you stand behind people who have martyred themselves for the nation, and I don't think there is any question of people being invited to funerals.
Ajay Shukla, the Prime Minister, at least on Twitter, has been receiving a lot of flack for tweeting about yoga in the middle of this operation. There's also the other side to the argument, which is that it's not like the entire country or the Prime Minister's office has to come to a standstill just because there is an attack. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I think that a sense of proportion and a sense of balance is something that it is not too difficult to expect from the Prime Minister's media management team. There is certainly nobody who would suggest, within the military at least, that everything else comes to a standstill. But there certainly is a certain propriety a certain appropriateness about what the Prime Minister is saying and focusing on at a difficult time when a terrorist operation is on, when people are laying down their lives and so on. But you know, what people often forget is that the effect that this has on the military. There are military people who will be watching this program, and they will have heard Subramaniam Swamy talk about, you know, the Kerala government didn't invite us, so we didn't come, and when we come we get criticized, when we don't come we get criticized. I mean, there is a very good reason why within and across the ranks of the military there is almost uniform contempt for the political class. It is because they feel that they are exploited by the political class. When the time comes to show sympathy, tenderness, solidarity, togetherness, it is not done. And then these specious arguments are made to justify why it's not done.
I wish we could play that bite out again. I don't know if we can, but it was there in that package, and I'm sure all our panelists heard it as well. The father of Lieutenant Colonel E.K. Niranjan was there in our story saying that he wished somebody from the central government came for his son's funeral. But Veera, is that making too much ado about nothing, or is that? May I
say the father of the NSG person who was killed in 26/11 said the same thing in Bangalore.
Okay, no, and we reported
the central government,
and we reported it.
That's so fine. So I can understand the agony of parents.
Okay.
The main thing for the government to do is to see that the family is now looked after and the children are looked after by the state. That's the more important.
It's not an either or. You can attend the funeral and look after the family. It's not too difficult.
You can't decide what is. You can't decide what is either and or.
If you give me a moment,
pontification has no value.
If you give me a moment, I'd like to play out
absolutely, the military can't decide. The military can't expect.
Yes, absolutely.
One second, gentlemen,
I don't have to listen to stupid remarks.
Gentlemen, 1 second. Gentlemen, 1 second.
I know the military much better than you do.
Okay, 1 second. Can we have some peace, please? Can we play out that soundbite of Lieutenant Colonel E.K. Niranjan's dad?
When he was joining an army, he wanted to become like the NSG, something like that. After some 9 years of service in Air Force, Army, he got this one to NSG. So Air Force and Navy, why cannot he join? I like that Army dress. That he was really very tight like that.
Is that a fair thing to ask? That
yeah, I think it's a perfectly reasonable thing. If your son gives his life for the country, you expect somebody at the center to recognize the sacrifice he's made. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I'm astonished we're even arguing about it. But what surprises me in all this is the Prime Minister. I don't think even the Prime Minister's worst critics would say that he's not in favor of the army. As you've said, he goes on Diwali's, New Year's, wherever, spends time with the army, talks about the army, and yet his behavior over the last few days has been astonishingly insensitive. One reason he was elected was because Manmohan Singh, we thought, did not provide visible leadership in times of crisis. Yeah. And we thought Mr. Modi would do it. After all, he provided visible leadership from the side of the Trident Hotel when the 26/11 attacks were going on, when he held his own press conference. So why not now? Why is he in hiding? Why doesn't he come out? Why is his office sending tweets about yoga? You can make many arguments saying, why should he care? He's only Prime Minister. But from Modi's point of view, from the point of view of the optics, the strong man, we have just tweeted yesterday, Amit Shah saying if Modi becomes Prime Minister, nobody will dare cross the border. This is something they said before Modi actually became Prime Minister. This kind of strong man who was elected on this platform of we will be strong, we will fight terrorists, we love our armed forces, I am your leader, is now in hiding. We hear nothing, we see nothing, we get tweets about yoga. Are his political instincts failing him in this crisis?
Why aren't we seeing the strongman Modi that was promised to us during the campaign, Dr. Swamy?
Well, he is a strong man. It's your perception which seems to be faulty. I think he's a very strong man. He'll make the right decisions. He has to now ponder what to do after what has happened. No. And I don't think it has to be knee-jerk. It doesn't have to suit journalists and media to how he should tailor this. I think we'll judge the results very soon.
No, this operation began early Saturday morning. We're at the fag end of Tuesday. No, one second. All we've had from the Prime Minister in these last 4 days is one tweet.
That's okay. That's your interpretation. The Defence Minister has been there. The Home Minister has reacted. And it's a party of equals. The Prime Minister is first amongst the equals. He will make a statement at the appropriate time.
Dr. Singhvi, I'll give you the last word.
No, I think this absolutely, stuns people. I think, it also raises issue of whether it is selective nationalism, fake jingoism. Is it just, meant for elections, stump speeches? Is it just meant for cases when you are in the opposition to drum up support because you see electoral gains in going to Mumbai? So it raises up these larger issues. I mean, it is absolutely astonishing, amazing and incomprehensible, and I had quite frankly not realized it, that if you check carefully from Friday evening, when some of this must be known, not Saturday morning, till today, there has been nothing by the Prime Minister, even by way of tweets, except that one tweet.
Yeah, there was one tweet.
Prime Minister we've had.
There was one tweet where he said...
He's the most communicative Prime Minister we've had.
Yeah.
And he is very effective at communication. And therefore it is all the more astonishing. So you do start getting the feeling of opportunism, of selectivity, of hypocrisy.
No, there was
and these are charges which will be natural.
Okay, just to set the record straight as we conclude the discussion, I think there was one tweet where he said this attack was carried out by enemies of humanity, and again that too received flack because he hadn't named Pakistan directly.
That was a speech.
No, that was a tweet.
He first said it in a speech and then tweeted.
And then he tweeted that. Anyway, we leave it at that. Many more questions will be asked in the days and weeks ahead once this operation fully and finally concludes. For the moment, though, many thanks for joining us on our talking point. Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, Dr. Abhishek Manu, Singhvi, Veer Sanghvi and Ajay Shukla. Fascinating conversation. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us tonight. Quick break here on the program. When we come back, all the other stories that have made the headlines this Tuesday night.